This is a pretty common one. Real estate transactions, whether you're a buyer or a seller. Should I do it myself? Do I need an attorney for this? So you've got to break it down into kind of residential versus commercial. So if it's residential, you're buying and selling a house, something you're going to live in. Do you need an attorney? Some of this you have to look at the state, real estate law in your state. Most of the time, probably don't need an attorney. The caveat I would say is you have a real estate broker a lot of times is involved, an agent, either on either side that's listing the property and selling it, or you have one representing you as the buyer. They are not attorneys. Just make that clear. They cannot give you legal advice. They'll usually have standardized forms, and each state's like association of realtors or different groups a lot of times puts out standardized forms that they will use their contracts. And so most of the time they're all standardized. There's a few things that you can change, but usually not. Now, if there's some very specific issue that you're worried about, maybe you should pay for a real estate attorney's time to go over. But most of the time in a residential buying and selling a house, there's usually not a lot you negotiate. A lot of it is standardized forms. So most of the time you're probably fine just doing it on your own, maybe getting some tax advice or spending an hour or something with a real estate attorney, paying for an hour of their time, $150 to $500 an hour. Could be more depending on if you're like in a major metro area, but that's kind of average. And going over whatever questions you have, most of the time, these contracts and realtor associations have gone over these a lot. So they're all going to be pretty mutual, not like one-sided or the other, and mostly things that are enforceable and protect both sides. But I don't want to tell you you shouldn't. But if there's something you're not sure about, don't rely on your agent because they are not an attorney and they should not be giving any legal advice. Even if they tell you this is all standard, something you're not sure about, yes, go talk to an attorney briefly to see if there's something you should change. But most of the time, residential, it's probably not a reason, no need to on the buying and selling side. On the commercial side, if you are buying or selling commercial property or multifamily residential versus just a single family home, depending on the state you're in, most of the time you probably want an attorney on the buy side or the sell side. A lot of times if they do a lot of transactions, they'll give you a flat fee. They'll say to represent the seller, it's 10 grand, or represent the buyer, it's 5 grand, whatever it is. And that will cover purchase contracts, because it usually starts out with a term sheet or letter of intent to get the property under contract. And then you go to draft a full purchase and sale agreement. And that can be very complex. There's a lot of things to think about for ongoing liabilities, if there's tenants already there, environmental liabilities with the property, just all kinds of potential issues that a real estate attorney is going to be able to walk you through. So it's usually a good idea to hire an attorney for any kind of commercial real estate, multifamily real estate, land, any of those type of deals. It might seem like it's not, oh, it's so standard, it's easy, and maybe you're using standardized contracts, but that doesn't mean it covers everything. If you're talking to an experienced attorney in real estate, they probably can say, oh, well, I know that form. I know exactly what form you're using, and I know it doesn't cover, some kind of tenant liability or environmental issue or something that they already know is not covered very well. Or maybe it's some purchase agreements, say you're buying an apartment complex, but they don't really cover it's called personal property on the property. So the actual assets within, not just the building and the land, but and something affixed to the land, like attached to it, but maybe they do their own property management, and the property management uses vehicles and gardening tools and things like that are kept on the property. And if it's not in the contract, you don't get it. They can take it with them. So those are the things you may need to look into, like things you probably wouldn't even think about. So that can come up in residential real estate a little bit. Usually when you buy real estate, you're buying the land, the building, and fixtures, basically things that are attached to the building. And if it's not attached, it doesn't go with it. So people ask, like, what about the refrigerator? It's not attached. The seller can take it with them. So these are questions that a real estate attorney can answer for you. But again, on the commercial, multifamily, land, those types of deals, it's usually good to have a real estate attorney who's experienced in the area, in that local area. And they understand title issues. They understand, do you need a survey? Do you need different inspections or different reports? A phase one environmental report or whatever you might need. Sometimes the lender might need a legal opinion letter, then you have to have an attorney. So if the lender requires something like that on a commercial or multifamily deal. So it's usually best to have one on commercial deals, multifamily, land. If it's residential, single family home, just a one-off deal, or an RV or anything like that, or a condo, and it's just for your personal residence, probably standardized contracts, and probably not that important to have an attorney review it because you probably can't change much of the terms anyways. So because the other side's going to then say, well, now I have to hire an attorney because I don't understand what your attorney's saying. They're adding new things into a contract that weren't there before. I don't know how that affects me. That could delay things. So again, I don't want to tell you you shouldn't hire an attorney, but in the residential context, it's probably not that important to hire one. Some states you are required to have an attorney for closing, a closing attorney, including with title and escrow and things like that, but you have to check by state to see if that's something that's required. Most of the times it isn't. All right, and that's it for real estate.